Tech Lyceum, a podcast from Birlasoft.
Welcome to another episode of Tech Lyceum. I'm Neerja and I am super excited to get started on a brand new theme today. Now the theme we are addressing is orchestrating the move for the SAP S4 HANA transformation. And let me set the scene here. In a rapidly changing business landscape, enterprises must embrace transformation, leverage the power of technology tools and enable rapid innovation to tackle the shifting market demands. Right? Now this time on Tech Lyceum, we are going to be talking about how the ERP landscape has shifted from linear to multidimensional, how businesses can assess their readiness for the SAP HANA move, and how to navigate change management. And we can't do any of this without a helping hand, or should I say, a helping mind. Our guest today is the SAP practice head at Birlasoft, Rajesh Nair. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Rajesh. He's been noted for being a management and technology professional with nuanced expertise in high-worth enterprises and delivering IT and ERP, that's SAP transformational programs. Rajesh has a deep sense of ownership in everything he does, and his persistent approach coupled with skills in providing strategic directions, deal finalization, and evangelizing technology adaptation has made him a force to be reckoned with. And I couldn't think of a better person to dive into this conversation with. So let's welcome Rajesh, or better and more endearingly known as Raj. Welcome to Tech Lyceum.
Neerja, thank you for the very kind words you have mentioned about me. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you for joining us. Let me ask you this, since we're on the topic of the SAP S4 HANA transformation, right? What is the vital factor for enterprises to decide and move to SAP S4 HANA now? And how can enterprises identify the strategy best suited, to their environment?
Sure. So, SAP actually turns 50 this year. And as you can imagine, they are a very forward-looking enterprise software vendor. And given the current climate and what's happened with technology overall in the past couple of decades, SAP has come up with the next generation ERP platform that you just mentioned. It's S4 HANA. SAP is definitely looking to move beyond their X version that they have, which is called the ECC version of SAP that most of the clients today are on. Some have moved on to S4 HANA. But they're definitely looking forward to getting clients onto S4 HANA so that they can co-innovate and co-build and move together. So SAP has, kind of set a deadline of 2027 for ECC when the support for ECC runs out. But apart from the looming deadline itself, I think customers worldwide are convinced that S4 HANA is the system to go on to, given the technology update that it's had, the database update in terms of the HANA database. And there's plenty of reasons apart from the looming deadline itself that enterprises are aware of that they can benefit from. But apart from that, in the last couple of years, S4 HANA adoption itself has grown roughly about 18% year on year. And that's a big number if you consider the overall SAP install base. Now, as for your other question, what are the vital factors for enterprises to decide on their move to S4 HANA? And, in some of our articles, we have highlighted this, but I'd like to reiterate that there are a few red flags that enterprises should watch out for. One is the architecture, the legacy architecture and infrastructure. Everybody's moved on to a cloud native environment. It's the high speed development, DevOps kind of environment. That's what's happening. And if organizations don't adopt to this way of working quickly, they'll definitely have a competition mismatch in the field. Second is the scalability issues. Enterprises want to scale very, very quickly nowadays. It's not like the previous years where they had some time to do that. The third one is AI integration. It's absolutely important, especially with ChatGPT and all of that has just recently happened, that ERP also becomes a good AI integrator. So it's things like that. There's others about how much of downtime and outages you have had, how slow your upgrades have become, how high your maintenance costs are. So these are some of the flags that enterprises need to look for and evaluate and plan their move to S4 HANA.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've really shed some light on that. And like you said, Raj, with this deadline fast approaching, it also then becomes important for enterprises to identify the right strategy to move to SAP S4 HANA, right? So how can they sort of come up with the right strategy and approach this in the best way possible?
Sure. I think firstly that I always recommend and tell all my clients is don't try to do it all by yourself. Engage with a really good systems integrator or a consultant to not just drive the strategy and the roadmap, but also advise you on the level and type of assessment that you will need in order for you to then plan your move. So that initial assessment is become a very vital part of the move to S4 HANA that wasn't existing in the previous upgrades. SAP itself has got what we call a readiness check report, and there's custom code analysis and those kind of things that help you in that overall planning. But apart from that, you will also need to have an extensive analysis of your organization's technical and functional aspects to determine your S4HANA readiness. This includes, in short, evaluating the database, platform configurations that are currently in use, your business workflows, and your general system landscape as well. And more importantly, organizations should look at how the migration fits into their own digital transformation roadmap. Like identify where you are, where you want to go in the coming years, and then plan how to get there. And that planning is what is absolutely vital in terms of the strategy to move to S4HANA.
Right, and a transition like this wouldn't come without its challenges, right? So Raj, what do you think are some of the top challenges enterprises must expect while, making this move from their legacy system to SAP S4 HANA?
This is, Nirja, a really important question and something that organizations should spend considerable amount of time thinking about and planning on, what are the pitfalls to look for. If we imagine a couple of decades ago, SAP became popular primarily because it allowed for customizations to happen within the ERP system. That means SAP had its standard processes, but if I had unique processes that are different or even slightly different from the standard processes, I had the ability to go and customize the software according to my needs. Now, that was an absolute blessing a couple of decades ago, and that is why, organizations worldwide jumped onto SAP, because it gave them that flexibility to remodel or model their existing business processes onto the system. Right. But as we know, everything has two sides to it, right? What was a blessing a couple of decades ago, in a way, has become a curse today. Primarily because they've gone on customizing the software to such a large extent that now the maintenance cost has become way too high for them. Way too high. So now if we look at what SAP recommends in terms of, your move to S4HANA, one of the mantras that they will give you is standardize as much as possible. And when you say standardize, this is exactly one of the first challenges that organizations will face, that it will cause a bit of disorganization and confusion amongst their employees. And also stemming from, what is wrong with the current system that you're asking us to go on to this S4HANA system for? So for the sponsors of the move to S4HANA, this will become a vital question to answer. And change management then becomes absolutely vital in this transformation to S4HANA. So that's one of the key challenges. And then there are other challenges or pitfalls that they need to look for. Primarily, it could be improper and insufficient preparation of the source system. So, data cleansing needs to happen before you move. It's the complexity of the data transfer itself from the source to the target system. And then, like I said, there's this custom code or the customizations that the organizations have done on their ECC system that needs to get, eradicated, because SAP's advice is for S4HANA to keep the core clean and then use platforms such as BTP for side-to-side extensions. And I'll end with this, never imagine the importance of testing when you move to S4HANA. It's absolutely vital that you do multiple rounds of testing. It will not just validate the solution, but it will also give the users the confidence that this is the system that can help them transform into a new organization.
Right. That's a lot of perspective, Raj. And with someone who has your expertise at the helm for Birlasoft, right, I'm sure Birlasoft has a very unique approach for this implementation. So what are your thoughts on that? How is Birlasoft moving forward with SAP S4 HANA at this point?
Sure. Thanks, Nija, for that question. So, we as an organization are constantly looking to see how we can add value and shorten the time frame for the move from ECC to S4HANA. And based on, our experience over the years, one of the things that we have developed is what we call the Smart Move offering or the Smart Move framework. Now, within this framework, there are three different phases, really. One is the Smart Prepare, which is right at the beginning of your transformation. And within the Smart Prepare is what we call the Smart Assessment. This directly ties back to that assessment timeline that I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, which is really important to understand how complex is your system and, what is the work that needs to be done before you move to S4HANA, and then what is the work that needs to be done during your move to S4HANA. And then, we tie it all up with what we call SAP's own product, which is the Value Lifecycle Management, to ensure that, there is value that is being recognized in this move from ECC to S4HANA. So that's forms the phase one, or what I said, the Smart Prepare. And then we've got the Smart Deploy. Now, Smart Deploy is really, once the assessment is done, we agree with the client on what is the best way to move from ECC to S4HANA. And there are really three different modes of travel to S4HANA. One is what we traditionally have called the greenfield implementation, which is a fresh implementation. Chuck everything you've got, just use some of the data, the customer, vendor, material master data, but implement everything afresh. The second is a brownfield implementation, where we are just moving data from your ECC to S4HANA, eradicating as much custom code as possible, but generally the business process and all that tends to remain similar to your ECC systems. That's the brownfield. And then we have got something called this blue field, which is really in between the two. So we take what we call selective data from your existing ECC system that will be required for a proper functioning of the organization in the new S4 world. And what Birlasoft has had the unique opportunity to do something called a shell conversion. And we are really one of the very few in the world to have been able to do that. Is again a version of the blue field implementation is called the shell conversion. And, that comes along with Smart Deploy. And the last part, which is the third phase, is what we call the Smart AMS. Now, Smart AMS, how do you optimize your overall support and bring AI kind of tools? Birlasoft has got something called as the AI Expert, which you will read about it in various analyst reviews, which has helped a lot of organizations reduce their overall support costs. So Smart AMS forms the third part of that overall Smart Move framework, if you will.
Right. I'm sure there's a lot of confidence the listeners would have gained through this conversation with you while you took us through this transformation in such a detailed and brilliant way. So thank you for allowing us to share in your wisdom today. It was wonderful being able to pick your brain on this.
Thank you, Nija, and thank you for having me on this podcast. It's been wonderful talking to you.
This is Tech Lyceum, a podcast from Birlasoft.
Well, folks, I think the takeaway is clear. Moving from the ECC to S4 HANA requires an intensive evaluation of transformational elements and the approach to change management specific to the SAP programs to really maximize those benefits from migration. With several business benefits to consider, enterprises must mandate a move towards ERP transformation through RISE with SAP to enable modernized and successful business transformation. So that is the way forward. I think we all gained some wonderful insights from this conversation. There's more like this coming your way only on Tech Lyceum. Until then, it's me, Nirja, signing off. Bye-bye.
You were listening to Tech Lyceum, a podcast from Birlasoft.